and be able to explore the range of work that we have, which can help everybody define success when it comes to animal health, nutrition, and its related industries. So today we are going to learn from Swine IT founder, Dr. Marcio Goncalves. So Marcio is a swine nutritionist, a tech enthusiast, and he's got 15 years of industry experience under his belt. He earned his veterinary degree from a top university in Brazil and his PhD in applied swine nutrition from Kansas State. Marcio's been a global nutritionist for a major swine genetics company. He's reviewed diets for more than 100 customers, has hands-on experience in swine production, which has taken him to over 20 countries and has resulted in more than 100 research studies in pig nutrition and production. So Marcio believes in creating positive impact in the world through knowledge dissemination. And today he will be sharing with us on how he pivoted his career and built a platform wherein he is thriving. So please welcome Dr. Marcio Goncalves. Hey, Marcio.
Hey, thank you, Patricia, for that kind introduction. I don't know, Casey, but I don't have anything prepared. I have some notes here, some bullet points, but I mean, hey, let's take it any direction here.
Exactly.
So yeah, I don't know what the expectations are. I mean, I have a bunch of bullet points here that we can cover, but I want to, yeah, Casey, you lead the way there.
Well, thank you for being here. As I said, I think this is going to be fun because I get to turn the table on you, and you're normally a host, so I get to kind of ask you. Normally what we do is we have a chat feature, and people will kind of list their questions there, so Trish will kind of guide us through those. And if there's no questions, I kind of guide the questions Q&A. So the biggest thing I kind of wanted you to touch on is because, as you know, as I transitioned this last year, I reached out to you for advice as well, because you've totally transitioned out of a traditional nutritional role that we've had, both of us in our career. And you've done a lot of professional development on your own, self-taught. Kind of walk through what you have done to develop your soft skills, because to me, you're one of the best salesmen, technical salespeople out there.
I don't.
You know, and then you walk away from nutrition and do something a lot more fun, I think. But kind of talk through how you developed yourself to get beyond that classically trained nutritionist.
Yeah, it's funny how you say salesman, right? Because, and I talked to my team, look, when we're doing a call with a potential sponsor or whatever, it doesn't feel like we're selling, because we feel that we are helping, we feel that we can cause an impact, you know, that kind of stuff. You know, I had a role before Casey on an additive company, and I was terrible. Well, first because they didn't have the research to back it up, so I'm like, okay, I cannot help you. I mean, so you see the difference there, you know, salesman and salesman, I think, you know, from that standpoint.
Well, I mean, technical sales, you're really good at, I should have said, getting your point across, your technical knowledge. And because I think you're like what you said, you don't think it's selling, it's helping. So, and a lot of the discussions we've had this year is kind of around soft skills and how do students, you know, bridge that gap.
Right. And to get, you know, back to your main question, you know, for me, when I did a transition, I guess we can back up about 10 years. I remember I was showering into High Power, which is a sow research farm from Carthage there 10 years ago. And I remember, okay, 10 years from now, I want to be doing what I want and work with who I want, when I want, from where I want. So I kind of create that as my long-term goal. And I think little by little, I was trying to get closer to that goal, you know, and I always wanted to be, I was being very entrepreneurial yeah, so my biggest advice for students is like, hey, have your 10-year goal and then figure out what you need to do to get closer to that. When I did that, when I pulled the trigger to go to this long-term goal that I had, a lot of people in our industry, a lot of peers are like, Marcio went crazy or something, you know? But not many people to this day know that and I don't, I don't, especially a pandemic and stuff, you don't have a whole lot of face-to-face interaction. So a lot of people don't know the underlying reasons. And the biggest one is, hey, live life on your own terms. Don't leave, how can I say, don't leave other people's dreams, like sometimes we just have this vision like, hey, okay, so if I'm a nutritionist, then that's what I need to do. And the biggest thing is that, hey, you are not your degree. You that's just a tool in your toolbox. So I don't know what else in this arena, Casey, you want to go?
Good word. I know you're looking forward to this. You have a question. I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Looking at me? Yeah, because well, I've mentioned this before, Marcio and Cassie both. I think you make a big jump in the middle of your career to do something innovative. Like, Cassie, you have your own courses, and then Marcio, you have the courses. What motivate you to take that jump, like being like, okay, this is something nobody has ever done, and I'm gonna do this? What motivate you to do that?
I think it goes back to that one I mentioned, Ed, which is I have this goal, right? I want to, so all my business models, they fit into my rules, which is I need to be able to live where I want and work from where I want in the globe. If I want to be in Thailand this week, I can be in Thailand this week, right? That is part of my goal. I wanted to work. I want my business to work without me, right? And that's the funny thing about business is that there's 28 million small businesses in the US, but 24 million of those only have one person. So then there's only 20% of those, the other 4 million, that have more people. And so of course you need a team to be able to have an actual business and not being self-employed. If you're self-employed, like a lawyer, or if you are a consultant nutritionist, you work for the hours, right? And you get paid by the hours. And then you don't own a business, you own a job, and it's the worst job in the world because that's a quote from Michael Gerber. He says it's the worst job in the world because you work for a lunatic, So it's a little bit, so that create the rules, create the vision, create the rules around it, and then you fit whatever you want to do. You have to force it, and it's people say, "Oh, you're so that's a bold move," and it is. But then and you always have fear, right? Always. And the thing is that the fear. How can I say? The fear to not achieving your long-term goal has to be bigger than that fear of what other people are gonna think. From that standpoint. And also, there's something that I always like to think about. Some of you might know Tim Ferriss, and he says something about think about the worst case scenario. Okay, so when you make the move, right, to do something like this, what's the worst case scenario? Well, turns out that the worst case scenario is pretty much everyone else's current situation, which is working for a company. So I bet if Casey was trying to find a job in the marketplace, or if I was trying to find a job in the marketplace, we could probably find it. Maybe not, but we probably would. So that's the worst case scenario. So it's not too bad. You know what I mean?
Well, I got a question then, since we're both jumped and doing our own things. Do you think there's going to be more room for independent people out there? Or do you think it's going to be a select few that can live that? Because we've seen the up and down in consultants and that kind of thing. Do you think there's going to be a shift in the workforce to more independent contract workers versus set employees?
I think so, yeah. Outside of our industry, but also probably inside of our industry. I think the younger generation, that's what people want. I guess is a little bit of a flexibility. And today is so much easier to create a business than 20 years ago, right? But I mean, you can open a business a few minutes and then you can test your business model, you know, with less than $100 very often. It's so much easier, right? You can create a logo in a website in 10 minutes. You can, everything is 10 minutes. So you can test, you know.
Profit's not at 10 minutes though.
No, but you can test. For example, if you let's say if we had this idea here, right, of this meeting that you guys have, right, Coffee and Careers. Okay, so this is an idea. It's just a PowerPoint, and then you meet with people that would be interested in putting money on that thing, maybe sponsors, maybe whatever. Hey, I had this thing. I'm going to start. I only have 10 slots for sponsor or whatever. Would you be interested in joining? Whatever. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. You know, so that's it. But you test the business model with that Zoom meeting before spending thousands and thousands. Many people think that to create a business, you need to get a loan, right? And again, that is true for some businesses that you have hard assets. If you want to start a pig farm or things like that, of course. But no, really, you can either find money with family if you need, or in friends, or really creating businesses with less than $100 is, I mean, that's what I like.
So I love your story. What do you do to keep improving every day? What do you do to keep, you're so motivational all the time, high energy. How do you keep that up?
With coffee. I wish I could drink more coffee. I have a little bit of a gastric ulcer, I guess, but energy, right? I think we are all like the cell phone, right? We have this battery and we need to fulfill it or charge that battery. Some people are more introverted, some people are more extroverted. Some people get recharged when they're, you know, if they have a barbecue with friends Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, they're like ready to roll. On Monday, I would be dead because I'm more like, I can have only one of those a week, maybe, right? And I need other days to read, walk. This morning, I was just walking here on the beach, funny enough, before the meeting here. I say that because I figure out what recharge me, and then I just do those things, right? So I love to walk on the beach. I love to listen to music. I love to listen to books or read books, exercise almost every day. Those things recharge me. But I encourage everyone to find, you know, what recharges you, and then just do that as often as you can.
So one of the questions we have here from Dr. Owens, how much experience do you suggest before starting your own consulting business?
All right. So, and it's funny that we're touching consulting a little bit, right? Casey, you touch a little bit in consultant, and this question is about consultancy as well. Before I get into this question, I just want to mention that for me today, consultancy is well, for the last year and a half, it's less than 5%. And now it's probably 1 or 2% of what I do. And I'm actually trying to get it to almost or to zero. Because again, it's not my goal to be trading my time. Like, you know, that's not for my goal. Okay. Plus, I didn't find enough demand, Casey, there. And I would enjoy it too. I never went after it either, because look, Sunday afternoon, if the feed mill runs out of threonine, I don't want to be reformulating that diet. Okay. That's not for me. Now, if you want to own a company that has 5 or 10 consultants, well, I like that. If you're a lawyer and you have 10 lawyers working for you, I like that. But if you're the lawyer doing the law work, I personally don't like that. So how much experience? I don't know the right question. I feel that I have good experience, and I tell you, I didn't get a whole lot of demand. And I get once in a while, and again, it goes back to pricing as well. For example, that's one thing about paid speeches, right? I did a paid speech for one of the top vaccine companies on their internal sales meeting and / technical meeting in January, and I gave them a price that I thought they were going to say no, because that's what I wanted them to say. But they said yes. I was like, okay, all right, let's do it. Right. Same thing for a year and a half ago. was October before the pandemic. So October 2019, I went to China for a week. That and they asked me, okay, how much it is, and I gave them a price. So they would say no. They said yes. But now I'm thinking, hey, it doesn't make sense. For example, if I ask for the price that I would want, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It makes more sense for me to be working on the business, if that makes sense. So I don't know, Casey, if I have a right answer for you. I don't know, Casey. I'm sure she might have some insights there.
Well, Casey and Casey, I make this confusing between Dr. Owens and I. I don't know. It's your experience. I mean, obviously my experience is a lot different than most people. I grew up in swine production. I worked professionally in swine production, and then I managed research. And so I think it's your network. And I would say even with Marcio, and it goes into Kelsey's next comment to get into here on the podcast and how that all started and how it's grown. But I think it's who you know more so than what you know.
Totally, yes.
And I mean, Marcio's had a beautiful reputation in the industry. I met him as a graduate student and knew, right away, bright things were coming from him, and he's not proven me wrong. But at the same time, I think it's who you know and what you know, and like research, competition. You need to do a market analysis. If you're going to go be a feed formulator, how many different consultants are out there? How many customers do you have? Are available? Because if you look at swine production today, in the state of Illinois, for instance, talking out there, most of all those guys are contract growers. The last independent people to really work with today are in Missouri, some in Illinois, some maybe in Indiana and Ohio, but the majority are tied to integrated companies that, for poultry and swine, to go out there and be a consulting nutritionist and formulate diets. The monogastrics is probably not a good business model. But if you are a ruminant, it's different. That's more of a farm gate thing. So my consultancy is not about formulating diets, because I'm like you. I hate to formulate on Sunday night or at 11 o'clock because somebody ran out of a feed ingredient. Today's market with no methionine and now hopefully no lysine. Oh my gosh, going back to the Stone Age of swine nutrition and poultry nutrition. But I consult on different things. I have a niche. I'm a feed additive expert. So that makes me a little bit different. I know production. So my consultancy hasn't been about formulating diets. It's about how to position and bring products to the market. I also have access to research facilities, but yet I did the business model on building a research barn and buying one, and it did not pencil. So I don't own that facility. Would have been great to have. But as Marcio said, I don't want to be tied to doing chores every day. If I can't afford to hire somebody to manage it for me, it's not something I want to do.
And you had many great insights there, Casey. One is that some of you might know that something called the blue ocean strategy. What's the blue ocean? Basically, you create your own, you position your product or service in a way that you don't have competitors. Because if you want to be a swine nutrition consultancy or consultant, like Casey said, there's a lot of those and probably not a high demand. So why would you do that? It doesn't make sense. Create your own thing, your own positioning. Say, Casey, hey, I'm a consultant for repositioning your feed additive. Okay, that's interesting. There are not as many of those as there would be from, swine nutrition in general, or everything I'm doing right now. You find some stuff, but exactly what we're doing is a little different from some other things that you can find in the market. So you're just trying to find this blue ocean where you virtually don't have any competition. And the other thing I have to say is you want to be innovating, right? And also you want to be innovating fast, because if anyone copy you, you're already into the next things. So that's something that we try to do as well.
So could you touch on Swine It and kind of where it started and anything new you're working on?
Yeah, so 8 years ago, we created a podcast in Brazil. It was the first podcast of the Brazilian swine industry, and it's probably still the only one that's only pigs, I guess. It's going well until this day. I have a friend that's been running that for the last 6 years or so, and then look how funny it is. I was working on that feed additive company that I mentioned, and I was like, okay, I was trying to figure out this plan. I told you guys I had this plan, right? So, okay, what can I do? So I can either work on this company for 10 years, my wife working on her job, and we can, hey, maybe have $1 million or $2 million, and we can be financially independent, and then I can do whatever I want. All right. But I was like, okay, what would I do if I what would I do? And that's the question I asked to you, everyone here, to think is, what would you do if you didn't need money or anything else? What would you be doing? And I was like, okay, I probably would be doing a podcast and interviewing people, because I'm a learner and I want to learn, so that's probably what I would be doing. And I was like, okay, I better off, I don't want to be working for 10 years on that company. So I'll do now what I would do in 10 years, So that's a little bit of how the podcast came about. And also, of course, I had this past life on podcasting as well, which I enjoyed. Swine, we are focused on dissemination, knowledge dissemination and implementation in the swine industry. We have the podcast, we have a web conference, which is Swine Talks, is the TED Talks of the swine industry. We have the Elite Swine Nutritionist ad is part of that. It's a program, a 7-week program, which 7-week recorded program, but it's more like a year, because you have monthly meetings like this, Q&A on nutrition. We bring some gas as well. And then fourth, there's something called Swine Impact. It's a digital agency that we're bringing to market now. We already have 5 or 6 customers. And again, we haven't even announced, and we already have 5 or 6 customers, because we're testing that business model. Basically, is the first swine only digital agency. So basically, a lot of the stuff that we do digitally, we want to have some of the suppliers in the industry figure out, hey, how do you provide value? A lot of these companies, they want to sell, right? But there's something about giving, and then selling. It works, So that's that. And then the last one that we came, and it's gonna be in July, is the Pig Revolution 5.0, which is the smart farming web conference of the swine industry. So that should be fun as well. It'll be about 4 hours with some suppliers, and they're gonna be sharing what they have. So that's the idea there. Long term, we're probably going to be a little more on the softer side. Casey, you are a nutritionist. The diet formulation softwares, man, they look like 1990s, right?
Are awful.
They are 1990s. So imagine if you had a diet formulation software that was a little smart, hey, are you sure you want to do that? Hey, these or that, based on prices, market prices and whatever, you're probably losing money here or that. So that's a little bit of midterm. We might be playing on that arena as well. Not only that, but other softwares like that.
Leticia wanted to know, do you have any opinions on an MBA?
MBA, right? MBAs are probably fine if you want to work for a major corporation. If you want to open your own business, MBAs are rarely. I know there's like
YouTube MBA.
Yeah, YouTube is great, and books are great. And there's a university called Babson College in Boston. They have some online. They are the best on entrepreneurship in the country. So that's good. Yeah, MBAs. I know Elon Musk said once that they hire people despite of their MBA, not because of it. It depends. If you want to climb the corporate ladder, it probably helps,
But let the company pay you for it.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're going to go corporate, do not pay for an MBA on your own. That is something you negotiate and say that you want in your first 5 years and get them to pay for it. Most companies will pay for it, and with a requirement that you have to stay, right?
Right.
But yeah, I have learned more on YouTube and books in these new courses by people that I ever would thought. And, you know, that's kind of what Marcio's trying to do. That's kind of what I'm trying to do is we learn nutrition, we learn how to formulate diets, but there's so much more to business and connecting with people than that. And so where do you find that? So I'm going to send out a poll. I'm just curious, do you have any books to recommend recently?
Myself?
Yeah.
Books in general, let's see. I highly recommend people reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad from Robert Kiyosaki. There's another book from him. It's called The Cash Flow Quadrant. It's amazing. There's a book from Brian Tracy called Goals. It's about the importance of goals and how if you have written goals and you review them weekly, you can get far. And that's one thing here. Let's do a quick. I know you're doing one poll here. We're gonna. Can you create these polls on the?
Yeah, I can. Can you do it yourself, or do I have to do it for you?
I don't.
You want me to do it? I'll end this one and share.
Yeah.
And then.
I don't know, because I have a poll question here.
Let me see if I can create a new one.
Yeah. Basically, if you can ask everyone, hey, do you have goals? The second is, are those goals written? And the third is, do you review these goals that are written weekly? Okay,
what's your poll question?
The first one is, do you have goals?
Oh, come on, computer.
Brandy said, and do they have a timeline? Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, and by goal, we were talking like SMART goals. They have to have timeline, you know, be realistic, aggressive, and those things. But great point there, Brandy.
And do you measure your goals?
First one is, do you have goals? Second, are they written on a piece of paper or computer? And then third is, do you review them weekly? Brandy suggested, do they have a timeline as well? And I missed the result from the first poll. I was curious what everyone.
Most of them, 13% said they do regular books on development. 74% no, but they want recommendations.
Right. This, what do you call the self-help type of book, quote unquote. There's a bad reputation, right? But it depends. If you're reading books, you know, about, I love non-fiction books, you know. Is that coming along there, Casey?
Yeah. So now I'm going to go to poll 2. I hope I got enough questions for everybody. It just took me like 6 months or more to learn how to do polls in Zoom. So
that's cool. I don't think I know how to do that on the fly. I need to learn that.
And last week we did the breakout rooms. So just trying up some different things.
That's cool.
And I've heard lots of great things coming out of breaking new grounds. I have a lot of students on here. Do I have to pick on a few of these to ask more questions?
Wow, I just realized we had 20 people at the beginning. We had 37, and we have the Dr. Lydia Rand, my good friend. So her husband is one of my coaches. So there you go. Small world.
Who am I going to pick on next? Not everybody has Clint. Do you have one? Beth, Kate, Marianne. Spencer had one. Oh, you are here. Do you have any system that you use in your decision-making, learning, and execution processes? Has this changed since you've switched careers? Great question, Spencer.
Yeah, that's great. Decision-making, learning, execution. Boy, we can probably spend 4 hours on that question because I love that topic. So let's see, decision-making, and we just got the results here. Do you have goals? 92%. Yeah, most people have goals. Are they written? Only half of the people have they written. Do you review them weekly? Yeah, so you definitely want to write them down 100% and then review weekly. That's it. And you have 10 years, 5 years, 1 year, 3 months, 1 month, 1 week. And then that's how you review them weekly, because you're breaking that 10-year goal in a weekly basis. So cool. Decision-making system. So one example there, Spencer, let's say if you're coming out of grad school and you have a bunch of offers and you want to figure out what you do, you just put that on a spreadsheet with some parameters that you like, hey, if I want to travel the globe, does this job allows me to travel the globe? Yes or no? Okay. Salary or benefits, whatever, is that good or not? You can create a little scale there, right? Okay. How much learning, is there a good mentor there that someone that I would love to work with? You put that, and then you can create a little way, how much of each one of those parameters are important to you. You can do like this little weighted average and put a little bit of a objectiveness, I guess, for that decision-making process on that same arena. For example, right now, every day I have a lot of ideas to either potential new businesses or how to improve what we have right now, and I write them down, and we put that on we use monday.com. Some of you might know monday.com, might know Trello. Trello is a good one too, but we prefer Monday a little better. A good thing about Trello is free, Monday's paid. So we put that on Monday, and then we have something we call backlog of projects. There's like 300 of those items, and then we classify them by the timeline, like how short-term, long-term type of goal. Customer experience impact, is that going to help the customer experience on our business? Financial impact of that idea. I'm sure there's one more that I'm forgetting, but we also put some weight in it. Oh, the other one is the amount of work required, and these are all somewhat subjective. You just do your best judgment, and we put a little bit of weighing, and you put it on a scale, and we sort that, and that's how we know which projects we're going to be working or how we're going to be improving what we do today. So that's decision making. Learning, boy, you need to be using your free time, right? If you're driving on the road, you need a podcast or an audiobook. Right now, I drove from the beach, right? 15 minutes. I was listening to, some of you might know the app called Blinkist. Amazing. It's summary of books. I just listened to a summary of a book coming to here, right? And I like books because they are like a little apps that you install on your brain, right? It's just a new idea that you just installed in your brain. On learning as well, Casey mentioned on YouTube. But YouTube is amazing, right? So if you want to learn something very specifically, and depending on if you want to spend more time or less time, but you can sort for, hey, less than 4 minutes. And then there's the magic rule of the likes to dislike ratio. That's something I created. Never heard it, never seen that anywhere else. But basically, you divide the number of likes for dislike, and if it's 20-1, it's okay. So that's the minimum amount of quality that you want to expect on a YouTube video. If it's 100-1, that's like top notch. So if it's a 10-1, you already know, probably not good. So you don't even watch that video. So that's just a quick way to know in seconds if you should be investing that time or not. Finally, Spencer, on execution, for example, for our businesses, I know a lot of people that have business, and a lot of times they don't have like weekly meetings, and I ask why you don't have a weekly meeting? Oh, because we talk all the time. Okay, that's not good, because you want to have a weekly meeting that you're going to be talking specifically on an agenda, and in our case, we have a dashboard, KPIs, weekly KPIs. We have 30 or 40 metrics that we measure every week. How are things going good, going bad? That's one thing. And then we go to our projects. How are they? So every project, and they're like micro projects because they need to be finished in 7 days. everything we have in our list needs on our actual projects or part of a project needs to be finished in 7 days. And then there's a deadline, there's a priority. People can, in Monday, cool about it, people can communicate within that project and things like that. So that's about execution. And I think it works very well, that it's like a pulse, it's a pulse when it comes to the dashboard and the projects. Things move very well remotely. Some people in my team I never met, and that kind of stuff. So
I have a question, because I've been getting a lot. I still have business coaches and different things, and I think this goes into life coaches. Obviously, you've done things differently than most. Do you have to do it the way everybody else does it? Or, I mean, can you be your own unicorn? How do you do that and keep confidence that, obviously you got your KPIs, but everybody tells you, well, you're not doing it right, or you have, too many ideas, or, that kind of stuff. How can you be your own person in a company, outside of a company, as a student? How can they become that?
yeah, that's a great topic. Honestly, I think that's the only way to live a fulfilling life, right? You have to figure out what you want long term. And even this little book that I was listening this morning, it said, hey, the more successful you are, the more haters that you're gonna have. And they mentioned, hey, Obama, I think in his second election, he won for 51%. So that means 49% of people didn't want him, and he was still one of the most powerful men in the globe, So that's yeah, you're always gonna have some of that. But you have to keep going, yeah, you just have to don't spend enough time. Now you do want to have constructive feedback, and Ad knows, right? We do some surveys and things, and we're going to be doing way more. And we also going to be doing like some micro surveys. Some of you may have seen on a website, there's a little, any website says, hey, was this information helpful? Yes or no? That's a micro survey. So we're going to be implementing some of that concept, but that's also some feedback there, but also asking people like, hey, what do you like the most about this thing, and what could be better, and be honest. And people say, and you get that, and you improve it. And you also should do that, with your friends, and have a few friends that you are open enough to criticize them, and they can criticize you. And I think that works very well.
I've always found value in constructive criticism. And even as a manager, I've been told, it's not what I say, it's how I say it. Any way to work on that? We've had, I don't think Paul's on here, but he had a similar question in the past of how do you get over some of, if you have a dominant type of personality where you're not offensive, how do you work through some of that? You've worked in multi-cultures all around the world.
Right. That's a problem I have. Something I want to, I'm trying to get better is exactly what you said. It's how you say, not exactly what you say. So you can run the next poll there, Casey. How many people have done the DISC profile test? So we're gonna get, you guys, everyone has done that?
We haven't done the disc yet. I'm trying to, once I get all my sponsorships in, hopefully we'll have some free opportunities for them to take that.
Cool.
But maybe some of them's taking it, but let's run another poll.
It's amazing. And you do that, and you do the strength finders as well to really know yourself. That's extremely important. So in my case, on the disc, I'm like very on the D, and also on the C, which is the more analytical. D is more dominant, and I'm not very high on the other ones. A lot of people think, hey, Marcio likes the spotlight, right? Because I have this podcast, whatever. I'm like, I know, no. Honestly, if you follow our Instagram, I rarely post things there because I really don't like the spotlight. But I do it anyways because that's what needs to be done. Back to your question is, Casey, boy, something I'm working on right now. I don't know. I'm very intense. I'm intense, but the biggest thing, my wife is the ass on the disc, and she's very sensitive about things, right? like the S's, and basically I tell her and other people, a lot of people in my team are S as well, which is the green, their colors, right, for the disc. And I say, look, a lot of times when I'm having a discussion, it's about an idea. It's not a discussion between people. It's a discussion of ideas, which works very well with me. But then you gotta ask, that person takes that thing personally, you know? So being very clear about that. And the other thing, always try to get better. You know, I try to get better. If I can get better 1% a day or 1% a year on something, that's great. You have the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. Fixed mindset, people say, hey, I'm that way. Yeah, I cannot change. Okay, that's terrible. Growth mindset is like, hey, yeah, I can probably get better. It's hard. It's very hard. But if I can get better 1%, at least you have your mind open. Okay, I can probably get better. 1%, you might get better, you know, and some stuff you get much better. Others harder to get better, you know?
Yeah. I think Lydia's got a good question here. How does your coach help or have helped you in your career and or personal life?
Hey, it's your husband, Lydia. You can ask him. Yeah, so I have Murilo, which is Lydia's husband as coach, and we hired a business coach as well that's more focused on creating systems around the business to make the business serve you instead of you being a slave to the business. And then a few months ago I hired a fitness coach. So let's see if it's gonna work. But it's good as well from diet and exercise. But in general, so Murillo, for example, we meet every 2 weeks and we go over my goals. Okay, so the next level, I guess, after you review your goals weekly, you can meet with someone and they're gonna keep you accountable, right? Hey, you said you're gonna do that. Did you do that? So that's the biggest thing that Murillo and I work on. But I know I've talked to him about other tools, right? Like, you know, self awareness. But something I remember to this day, I was driving to a customer, I think, right before I pulled the trigger, and I was on the phone with Murillo, like, man, I think I'm gonna pull the trigger, whatever. And we were talking about it. And then next time we met, we did a little matrix, right? The pros and cons of each one of, like a SWOT, pros and cons of each one of those two decisions. And that really helped, you know. For example, hey, if I leave the job, I can spend more time with my son. Now he's 10 months old, you know. So all those things played a role, you know, on that decision. So I highly recommend having a coach, you know. It's amazing.
And Lydia says she can't ask her husband, so that's a good coach then, right?
Yeah.
You know, I think we've done some group coaching through this program. We've tried a little bit of that, and I have an accountability group. It was really small. A lot of you didn't sign up for it, and that has been great. We meet once a month. There's 4 of us, and we go through our goals, and we're holding each other accountable, but we're also helping each other. So I've really enjoyed that. So we are working on things like that for you guys to have that here too, as a support network. But you know, it was funny. Linnea, you all know my coach. I've had her on, and she said, you know, there was going to have to be something to push you off the ledge, because I'm not that risk taker. I was on a financial plan, anyways, to get there, and it was a 1 to 2 year out type deal. But you know, I got pushed off the ledge, and like all my career, it's sink or swim. So I think if you have a dream or a goal, you'll find a way to make it happen, and you just have to trust yourself. And sometimes if you don't have confidence, a coach can really help you, or a therapist, as they say. You know, maybe a coach is a cheaper version of a therapist, but either
Totally.
way, I recommend both.
Right, totally.
Vic has a question. How do you define success for yourself, and also when you're starting a novel venture?
Hey, Vic. All right. So I think a lot of what I talked so far is the way I define success to myself, right? Work with who I want, when I want, from where I want, and that's that type of thing. It's good that you asked that question, because success is extremely it's person to person. So don't think that the way I define success is the way you should, right? Figure out for your own. If you also write down what is the ideal day, right? If you didn't have to work, everything else, if you just have that perfect day, you wake up in the morning. What time do you wake up? What do you do? With who you do? Figure that out. And first, you're going to find out that you actually don't need a whole lot of money to do that, which is very interesting. And to accomplish those things that you wrote. But then the second part of your question is when starting a novel venture, and I think that is also person to person. In my case, I joke with my wife sometimes. I think that I have this monster in my head that I battle, because it's too many ideas in my case, ideas. So I make sure to write them down. And I have this little note here. It's called business model. So any business idea I put there, and they sit there, and then actually 2 days ago, I created a little product pipeline for our business, for the next few years. And I put some of those ideas there, and I do a little bit of a matrix or this categorization that I mentioned before, like, hey, what's the customer, or how innovative is that idea? Again, blue ocean, red ocean type of situation. And then financial impact, I think, something else. And then I just try to throw that down the line when it comes to timeline. But I have a problem being the D on disc, and also on the strength finders. My 5, it's like achiever, learner, focus, competition, and analytical. So the achiever one is good, but it's bad. It's bad because, man, you are never happy. That back to the therapy. I probably need therapy, because, hey, you are never, that type of personality. You are, I don't say happy, because I consider myself happy, but it's more like blissfully dissatisfied, right? You always want a little more, or which is good and bad, like I said. So in my case, in my team, we are trying to create a little more structure, because if not, I'm like, hey, I had this idea, boom, let's implement, ASAP, whatever. So it's trying to spread ideas over time is something that we are working on, instead of doing because if it was for me, I want to do everything, all ideas I want to do today. If I'm not doing it, I feel like I need to do it, So I guess Casey identified.
I've been coached on that. That's my problem.
I hear you. I hear you. Yeah.
I have all, and I gotta ask, do you ever run out of ideas, Casey?
Probably not. Right?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I have too many ideas, right? But again, yeah. The biggest thing here for everyone is, any idea that you have, write down, And then you also know that people that say, hey, yeah, I had that idea, but whatever. Someone else went there and did that, right? So you don't have, ideas are not very powerful. You need to implement them. So implementation is powerful, The whole thing around knowledge, same thing. Knowledge is not power unless you actually implement it,
There's some saying, I can't remember it, something about dreamers. There's lots of dreamers out there, but there's very few doers.
This is interesting that to say, Casey. There's another book, amazing, read a few times. I want to buy 10 of those and give to small business owners, because it's called The Entrepreneurial Myth, the E-Myth Revisited, by Michael Gerber. And the consultancy that I'm getting to my business is from that company. And basically what you said is the dreamer, right? And the doer. So every entrepreneur is actually three different people, okay, within the same person. The first one is the entrepreneur, which is the visionary, the dreamer. Second one is the manager, which is the organized, I talked about Monday, and you're organized and you have the Dropbox folders very organized. So that's the manager. and you have the technician, which is the doer, which is the, if you like to, a lot of people like to cook and they say, hey, I might open a restaurant. And they don't understand that just because you like to cook, if you actually own a restaurant, you're not going to be cooking, my friend. You need to focus on the business. The business is the product, not the product, So one of the reasons many entrepreneurs fail is because they are the technician. We talked about the swine nutritionists, the lawyers, but they cannot get out of that and become a manager and entrepreneur and have the vision and create, the manager is going to create the systems, So that's interesting that you mentioned those words, because it's very interesting. I love that topic.
We got about 9 minutes.
Can I ask 2 questions?
Yeah, go.
First question, Marcio, what's your favorite book related to pig and not related to pig?
I've seen those questions on a podcast. So pigs, the NRC. Yeah, if you are on swine nutrition, you need to read the NRC. There's the case you got the NRC. I don't think I ever have the actual book. I think I have the PDFs.
It's always right there.
Yeah, NRC is amazing. You need to read, once or twice. It's just the Bible. And then chew. No pigs. I'd say the most pivotal book was the Rich Dad Poor Dad, and understanding that concept of assets, liabilities. Some people think buying a house is an investment, but it's not, because it's taking money out of your pocket every month. An asset is only things that you buy today and it's giving you money next week or next month, rental property. So that's high level on that book.
Well, I think my favorite swine book because it's sitting there, but All Creatures Great and Small by James Herriot. He was a true inspiration of where I wanted to go in my career, and I've reread him since then, and there's something about him as a veterinarian. It was about the people. Not when I was younger. I didn't read the stories about the people. I read the stories about the animals, and it's kind of funny how animals have made me love people. I didn't go into animal science because I liked people at all. I was very introverted. I was good with animals, and it's funny reading that again as I'm older versus a young 12, 13-year-old, how I've changed a lot, and I now see the stories weren't always about the animals, they were about the people.
Interesting. Yeah, I never heard of good things about the book.
So, come on, 7 minutes, pulling teeth here. Beth, I'm looking at Beth. Beth's had some good questions in the past. Okay, Sarah, do you have any questions? Mohammed, Marianne, Trish, do you have any questions for him?
Everyone is quiet.
Kate has one. How do you find ways to meet small goals, such as vaccine protocols or
things that you can't just look up? All right. So I think what you're saying, things you can't just look up, I guess, is the whole thing around trust but verify, right? I think this is along those lines. So if you're not there, and again, I probably mentioned the word systems too many times on this call, but create a system. If something's not working, say a vaccine protocol is not working or whatever, people are not implementing anything, or you are not implementing something that you wanted to implement, don't think, or in your business, right? You don't think that it's your fault or it's someone else's fault. Think that is a system that is broken or missing. So everyone heard about SOPs, right? Standard operating procedures, and it's kind of boring, and it is. But honestly, a very well-run business like a McDonald's franchise, nothing more than like 100 or 200 SOPs. So that's when you have 100 or 200 SOPs, that's when you don't become, a slave to your business. Say that again.
So sorry. That was my cat. I didn't know I was on
You're good.
Mike. I'm glad I haven't been talking this whole time. This is Casey Owen. My cat's over here next to me.
You're good. Say hi to your cat.
I do have one point and something you've said a lot too, business, and you're speaking from being a business owner. When you work for a company, and maybe I can get your take on this, you still have to represent yourself. And we talked about personal brand in the past. It is your business. It's your company's business, but it's your business, and how you handle things is how you're going to be remembered. Kind of any advice around that? It is your business. You have to own it.
Right. And it gets into the whole like politics of some large corporations sometimes, right? Because, and HR policies and things that you can, you need, everyone is scared of arguing, I guess, with other people. Yeah. You need to create a personal brand within that company. But when I was working for corporations, I have never been scared of how can I say creating a discussion, very often I think people just like whatever, I if there's a problem, I'm like, okay, who is responsible? I go, my personality, I go after, and I don't care, not a whole lot of politics, I don't know.
You better have a solution before you mention a problem. I think that's my best advice. If you got problems, have the solution, because everybody's got problems, but people get listened to if they have the solution.
Right. Yeah. Think about a solution. Not necessarily is going to be the ultimate solution, right? But at least think of ideas, potential ideas, but also, think about the whole thing around tail biting, right? A genetic company, let's say if you have a lot of tail biting, that's not a very easy problem to fix. But boy, you better start working, right? You better have massive data sets and have a massive team of people and a committee to try to figure that out. But don't be scared of challenging people, senior people or whatever. Like, hey, this is a problem. Let's do something about it. It's
all how you challenge, not. Yeah. Well, any last things? We got 1 minute.
If nobody else, I will ask another question for both Cassie and Marcio, because I feel like you guys are in the industry for a long time and you know everybody. But going back to the personal development for students, when we're in students, we didn't bring a lot of value to the industry people. What should I do to like start that network and then like start conversation with people, and how to do that?
Casey, you want to start?
Well, I was going to say, Edward, I think you already are. I mean, you got on LinkedIn, you're meeting people, you're involved with a few people that I know, and getting out there, and people are talking about you when you're not in the room. And that's kind of what Ashley said. You got to get people to advocate for you when you're not in the room. And so that's building that network, talking to different people. So I would say you're still concerned that you're not doing it, but I can tell you you're doing something right because people are talking about you. And so you'll have to ask CG what I said about you in our meeting. So
she did tell me.
She did. She already knows. So so people are talking about you when you're not there. So that's a good thing. Building those networks. I hate to say this, saying yes when maybe you don't have time, finding a little extra time to do special projects, going out of your way to meet people. It's hard. And I got some new stuff coming. So just just wait. We'll see if we can keep growing that ability to network virtually. So
I love it. Yeah, I think the only thing I mean, I love what you said there, Casey, on the branding. Well, we have a branding consultancy for our company in Brazil. We have online courses and similar things that we have in English. We also have in Portuguese, and we have this branding guy, and he said, look, what's the branding about a company or about a person is what people talk about you when you're not in a room. It doesn't matter what the brand says, right? So that's very cool. And the other thing you mentioned there, Casey, that I love is, and I create this arbitrary number of 35 years old. Until you are, or for me that worked, until you are 35 years old, you virtually have to say yes for almost everything, you know. So even I don't know if yeah, do it anyways. You're gonna meet people and that kind of stuff. After that, you probably should say no, because then you start kind of focusing a little more on whatever makes sense for you, you know. So
good points. Great advice. We're out of time. We don't want to take any more of Marcio's time. He's a busy CEO and he's got lots to do. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, everyone. Hey, nice to meet you. Hey, whoever is on LinkedIn, if you want to connect with me, I'd love to connect with you there. And thanks so much, Casey, for everything you're doing. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks. Last comment before we go. If Hyatt Frobos may or may not be on in 2 weeks, depending on how he's getting on with his recovery, there's a link for feedback. But also, if you haven't checked out our newsletter, the scholarships are open to get your articles in this month for the first round of scholarships. So if you need more information, email me or private message me or comment on one of our social media posts. So thanks, everybody. Have a great week.
Thanks, everyone.
all.
Thank
Thank you.
Bye-bye.